Well, hello and welcome everybody to this live event. It's an Ask Record Power event. So my name's Mike Davis, a part of the Record Power team, but I'm based over in New Zealand. And in New Zealand, it's 6:30 a.m. here on a Thursday morning. But to help us with the presentation, we've got Pete. Now, Pete Webb is my colleague, Record Power's technical sales specialist. He's based over in the UK. He's in a place called Marlborough, which is pretty close to Sheffield in our UK head office. And he's over there ready to do a deep dive focus for you all well, these are the two largest premium wood turning lathes in our range. It's the Coronet Envoy and the Coronet Regent. So Pete's going to do a deep dive focus into those machines. And the great thing about this being a live event is it means that you get to ask questions. So if you've got any questions for Pete, drop them in the chat and I'll be in the background and I can feed some of those questions over to Pete on your behalf. So I think that's it from me. I'm going to introduce Pete. So here he is. Are you there, Pete? How are you?
Yes. Hello, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm all
right.
All
ready? Yeah.
So what time is it where you are in the UK?
7:30.
7:30 at night. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're all good to go. I'm going to put myself into the background and tell us all about the Envoy and the Regent. So I'm going to put myself in the background and you're on.
Thank you, Mike.
Away you go.
Hello. Good day to everybody. I was going to say good evening because I'm in the UK, but it's going to be different times of the day in wherever part of the world you're in. So we're going to take you through our Envoy and Regent. And in this particular case, I've got the Regent built up. And we fitted it out as well with all our accessories. We've got the bed extension, we've got the outrigger on there, and we've put the tool shelf in there. So we go through the basic specifications of the machines, and then which we've got listed, and we've got accessories and features to run through as well. And just interact with questions, and we'll do our best to answer them as we go along. So basically, my colleague Ollie, who's running the cameras, and he's going to bring up the slides and everything for us, will start us off now with the basic specifications. We'll have a look at that, and then we can fill it out as we go along. So here we go. So first thing up really is the maximum bowl diameter, which is 39 inches or about a meter. 1,000 millimeters. So that's with the outrigger fitted. So we've got that, and we can adjust it with the slide, and we can adjust it underneath to swing out. So 39 inches between, and then we can move the head out as to gain the most capacity as well. So that was the first part. Envoy and Regent, we've also got standard swing over the bed. So you've got 16 inches or 18 inches with the Regent. And standard between the centers is 24 inches or 410 millimeters. So we've got actually as well fitted, as I said, we've got the bed extension fitted. So that will give you an extra 21 inches when you move that out there. When you move that as well, you've got a stop pin in there. You need to remove that, and you've got a natural little stop pin on the back there. So if we get back to the sheet again, spindle speeds, 3 speeds by changing your pulleys. We'll go through the pulleys later on. We'll do some other images of that. So next down is the motors. We've got 2 different motor types because of the different markets and types of machines. So with the Regent, you've got 2 kilowatt, this current machine, and with the Envoy, you've got 1.5 kilowatt. And for the different marketplaces as well, UK, 220 volt, and that's also for Europe and Australia, I believe, Mike, as well, 220 volt.
Yeah, 220 in Australia.
Yeah, and then America, we got two voltage types. So the Envoy, you're on 110 volts, 1.5 kilowatt, and then the larger Regent, you're on 220 volts, 2 kilowatt. So just be aware of that in that marketplace and how the usage of those are there. But the speeds and everything basically stay the same. So we've gone through the motor inputs and output, well, the motors. So like I say, Envoy with 1.5 kilowatts, 2 kilowatts on the Regent. So we're coming on to thread sizes. So for the UK, Europe, Australia, M33, and for the American market, we've got 1.25" 8 TPI. 2 Morse taper on the tailstock, 2 Morse taper on the headstock, hollow spindle, hollow tailstock. I've got the standard tooling that are fitted with the machine as well. So we've got a faceplate, a revolving sensor, and a 4-prong drive. They come standard with the machine. On the tailstock, you've got auto eject as well. So you can smoothly put your, take your tooling out. And there's a storage place underneath. On the headstock, we've got the drive in there. And we've got a top out bar that comes with the machine as well. Again, we can store that underneath there and that in there. So we've got the faceplate as well. Well, I'll remove that as well. So what we have got on the faceplate, we've got a grub screw, and what you want to do on the grub screw is basically remove it so as it's just proud of the center, and then we should be able to wind it off. If you don't wind that grub screw out a good distance, what it'll do is you catch on your thread and damage it. So be aware of that. And that's the same on the chuck as well. The chuck SC4 or whatever chuck you use out of our range, it's got a grub screw on there as well to lock on there for when you go in the reverse mode anyway. So we'll go back to the spec sheet. Done the taper. Regent, 145 kilograms, and then on the Envoy, 140. So big machines, but that's without the extras on there. So when you put the bed extension on there and the outrigger, you are adding extra weight on them to the machine as well. Next one, basic dimension. So we got the length and the depth and the height. On the height, it's different because of the swing over the beds for the Envoy and the Regent, but also the feet that come with it are adjustable. So you've got adjustments in there as well. So I think we're going on to our accessories now. And we've got some basic. So first one is the range of tool rests we do. We've got 4 in the range there. You get a standard one come with it, and the outrigger, you get the semi-curvature one on there as well. And we'll go on to the next one, which is our chucks. So we've got 4 chucks in the range. So SC1, SC2, SC3, SC4. SC1 is the small one, but that's with you can put your insert in there, the same as insert that fits into the SC4, and direct thread on the other 2, SC2 and SC3, which we've got an SC4 here. So that's one with the insert that's already in place, which can be changed over as well for the different thread sizes for the different market. And we also do direct threads on those M33 on the SC4. So and also it's an exclusive range of jaws as well. So the SC1 and SC2 have their own jaws, and then on the SC3 and SC4 they've got jaws as well, interchangeable between the two. So same range of jaws for both 2 models. So we've got on the next slide.
So Pete, sorry, can I
Yes.
just ask you about those chucks? So if
Yes.
we go back to the chucks, you know, So I think you covered the spindle dimensions in
Yes.
the so in Europe and UK, spindle dimensions are that's your
M33.
M33, and for
Yeah.
US and Canada, inch and a
Inch and a
quarter
quarter.
by 8.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
if you've got the SC4, you're going to need that appropriate insert, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
And
All right.
so for the other markets, for the European and Australia, we do the M33 direct thread.
That's
So
right. That's right. And if folks have got a lathe that's not a record lathe, I suppose they can still get the record power chucks, and we do a range of inserts for various spindle threads.
yes, yeah, there's a comprehensive range of inserts.
Yeah,
So
perfect. All right,
yeah,
carry on.
contact your dealers, and if you contact your dealer, and they can advise you on what thread inserts we've got.
Yeah, brilliant. All right, what we got next, Pete?
With Chuck's lathe accessories, done that. Turning tools. Sorry. One thing we haven't done is the drives and those accessories. All these drives you can see on screen at the moment. These are all made in the UK, so we do a comprehensive range. And what would be of interest to you maybe is the sprung ones. These are again part of our range of UK made accessories, and then the sprung ones, which I find very nice, is actually you can adjust the pressure through the back. So it's quite a lot of adjustment on there, and what that does is if you're working between centres with your drives and you've got a nice piece of timber in there, maybe it's a bit soft and pithy, you can adjust these so the actual drive itself is adjusted to what you want it to be, really. And as I say, there's a comprehensive range of drives, and that's expanding because we make these in-house ourselves. We've got our own design team, so that will be expanding as we move on. Right, and now the UK-made turning tools. We do individual tools, and then we do the sets, spindle set, bowl turning, or the 6-piece set. So with the tool tray that we've got in there as well, you've got a home or location for your tools as well. So these can be placed in there. So that's very handy. It's a handy little unit, the tool tray that we've got fitted in there. You've got location places in there for your drives and tools and bits and pieces, apart from the turning tools. It's also been got our logo in there, but it's also cut out so chippings won't fill up in there so much as well. And ideally, the tray itself is a lot easier to fit if you buy it at the same time as you buy your machine. Because of the assembly, you've got your switch box in there and everything else. You can put it in afterwards, but it takes a little bit of stripping down, and the leg has to be moved out. You've got 3 screws that hold the leg onto the bed on each end. One end can stay fixed, but this end you can swivel out, but it's got to be done with care, or maybe the best option is actually to strip it down and insert the tool shelf afterwards. Right, our CAMVAC range. We have a comprehensive range of extractors from 36 litres up to 200 litres, and variable motor types as well. So we can cover a lot of applications: single motor, twin motor, 3 motors, and variable bin sizes, as I was saying. And also the CAMVACs as well. A single motor could run for up to 2 hours, and then with the 2 motors, depending on what actually size pipe you're running, that will be reduced. But we've got cyclonic inlet And basically that means that the air's pulled in and the air is deflected around the outside, and that prolongs the life of your filters. And it's a much more efficient sort of system. And the inlet as well is with our new bayonet fitting as well. So that comes in useful. You can unclip it and move from machine to machine. So if you've got a bandsaw or table saw or whatever in the workshop, you can leave your hoses connected and then just move the machine around and clip in your extractor to it. What's also in the corner is the posable hose, which will come in useful for a turning. So you could bring the hose around the back of your extractor, and when you're in the reverse mode, when you're sanding, then that's very useful for being able to move into place. So you gain the best sort of extraction away from the waste through the sanding. Don't know if I missed anything else on there. Anything else to cover on those?
No, I think that's all the accessories. So should we get into like the features of the lathes?
Yeah.
Are you ready for that one?
Yeah. So if we go into the rotating and sliding of the headstock.
So I know this is quite a unique feature in it, Pete, and not all lathes have this.
No, a lot of yeah, both the Envoy and the Regent have the same sort of features with a rotating head. But machine features are basically the same machine between the two machines, apart from the motor power and the capacity over the bed. But to rotate your head, you've got a locking bar to release, and then you can slide it. You slide it up and down with ease, and then you index it round. So you can bring it right round over the bed. And when you come back to the center again, it actually locks in. You can feel it locate back into, so you've got the alignment back in off your tailstock. The main thing is bringing it round, locking it off to suit. So it's locked down firmly. Then you can adjust your tool post to whatever application you're doing, what you're doing. If you're doing a big bowl and you bring it round 180, lock it down again, and then you bring it into your outrigger then, and you're setting that up with this to whatever you want to do. So it's quite easy to go from one mode to the other mode and safely back again.
So Pete, just with the, just run us through again with the Envoy. If it's over the bed, so if that spindle is fixed over the bed, what is our max diameter over the bed with the
16
Envoy?
inches. 16 inches with the Envoy and 18 inches with the Regent.
So that's one of the main differences, is that additional 2 inches with the Regent over the bed. If you then rotate the headstock, what is the maximum diameter of platter, for example, that you could do in rotated mode?
With the outrigger, being used with the outrigger, is 39 inches.
So that's a meter, isn't it?
Yeah, basically a meter. So what you can do with, when you rotate your head, because you've got a sliding head, you can gain that extra capacity.
Yeah, and with that outrigger.
That outrigger in place.
And it's going to save you back too, particularly if you're doing bowls, because you're not sort of leaning all over the machine, are you? You can actually position it so it's nice and comfortable for you.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to work over the bed and gain using your tools, what's nice when you've got the bed extension in place, and I'm on the wrong side of the machine anyway, but the standard juices is here. So we said we had 24, but with the bed extension, you can actually move that out the way. even if you don't want to do the large spindle work, but you've got that extra room to bring your arm around when you're over the bed, you've got a lot of clearance here then. So a lot of people do vases and bits and other items. So it does give you that extra room to get in there. So that's just not just for your spindle work.
Yeah, actually, I think Terry Young in the audience is just agreeing with you. He said it saves your back from bending over the bed. You know, it just puts that headstock in a nice, comfortable position for you.
Yeah, it makes the machine very versatile. So cool. Yeah, like you said, there are a lot of lathes out there with the rigid fixed heads, but this just gives you the versatility. So being able to move things around to suit yourself when you're working on your machine.
All right. So what about the pulleys? 3-step
pulleys. Yeah. So I'll need. If I move these out the way a little bit, and we'll go over to the other camera view. Again. So if I bring that round. Pinch that off for a second. How are we, Ollie?
Oh, nice shot, Ollie.
It's not bad, is it? Actually, we can see the indexing really clearly as well there. So it's got a lot going on here with this shot anyway. So pulley speeds, we got 3 pulley speeds. So you're dropping down to 250 on the lowest speed, number 1. 2. We're going from 550 to 1,650, and then our highest speed, your lower torque, is 1,300 to 3,800. So there's a big range there. It's very simple to change speed as well. On the side of the head here, just about can't see it now, it's just underneath there. Release that, and that takes your tension off, so you can move your belt position to where you want to. And basically, just to the lock is check that it's in line with the grooves, everything's fine there, and it doesn't need any more pressure than maybe just a finger on it. That's enough, because you still need a little bit of flex in there. So it's very easy to change it over your speeds. When I'm a little bit later on in the presentation, I'll go through the actual operations of the machine. You can actually see it all running. I can show you the speed, the digital readout. But while we're in here, we got the speeds, as I say, you can quite clearly see there. So it's a nice little one. Sometimes you open the machine up and I think, what is the pulley positions? It's there for you, it's clear. On there as well, there's a little interlock that works with the micro switch. When you've got the cover open, this machine's not going to run. You've got to have it closed off because of the interlock on there. And what you can see as well is we've got an indexing position as well. This is the actual lever that engages. We've got 24 indexing positions on there, and that is only an indexing usage. It's not for a spindle lock. I'll show you how to change or lock the spindle, but don't use that to release chucks or any other face plates or anything else. That's a must, because the plunger that goes in there, the pulley itself is aluminium, and what you can do is you keep on knocking it backwards forwards. It's make a bow mouth. The worst scenario is you could actually damage it and break one of the locations off, but that's if it's extreme as well. So anywhere around.
So
yes.
Just to clarify on the speeds. So the speeds are variable speeds with each pulley, eh? So you don't, it's not just 3 speeds with it. On each pulley, there's a variable speed knob,
yes,
which will increase and reduce the speeds too, yeah?
Yeah, and I'll say when I'm going through, I'll leave it in the mid-range at the moment. So our bottom speed is 550, the top speed on that is 1,650. And then we're run through that anyway. Because you've got on this machine, you've got a true reader on there. And this is when this spindle rotates, take my finger out there, you can see that plate that's in there, and we've got a reader there as well. So it's giving you basically a true reading of the rotation of the spindle as it goes round. And like Mike said, each 3 speed ranges, but each is variable. So 250 to 750, etc., going in between, so you can adjust it between them. So on the low speeds, ideally, that's for when you get into your large bowls, and before you start up, you should always make sure you're right on the lowest speed you can, the machine will run at, and that's for safety as well. So as you can check, obviously, when it's rotating, you've got clearances correct, and it's in balance as well. It may be something's not quite right on there, whatever, the lockup or whatever, gives you a chance to do something before being in a high speed. And with the mid range is pretty good range for doing your bowls and stuff like that. It's a good one to start off, and it's 540, maybe a little bit too fast for a large capacity bowl, but sort of medium range bowls, 300 mil, 12 inches, something like that. Okay. So, okay with that, Mike, well,
we got a little question about what you're doing right now. And this is from my friend Mike Peace in the USA. It's good that you're here with us, Mike. Mike has raised the question, why is it a mechanical fixing on the, you know, the cover on the pulleys? A lot of people would like to have a thumb screw or an easier way to get in, but why do we have to do that?
We do it because of the regulations. So we are, the machine meets certain regulations, and whether that's on guarding, this guarding, the interlock of the guarding, other things. If you want to put a knob on there, then yeah, but it should be a tool to lock it off, and that's a safe position. I mean, if this was in a private dwelling, not so bad, but if it's in maybe in a shop or something like that, or if it's in a training school or something like that, you really don't want anybody gaining access in there. The interlock should work, but you've got the key to make sure that is all locked up, so nobody can get in there when it's rotating. I mean, you've got the spindles rotating as well, but it's what we do, what we have to do.
It's our rules and regulations to be able to
yes, our rules and regulations.
It's got to be a mechanical fix, eh?
This machine, the European market is, and the UK market, the machine is CE'd. So we meet strict guidelines of regulations on there, and that this machine, and our machines in general, all do. Is that okay?
Brilliant.
Was that cleared that one up?
Yeah, so because Mike was asking the other day, why can't we just put a simple thumb screw on, you know, just to make it easier? And I guess the answer is you can do at home, but our regulations to sell the machine means it's got to be a mechanical fix.
Yeah, it's got to be a mechanical fixing lock on there. Yeah, I mean, with the old record machines going back 20 odd years ago, they used to have like a little Bakelite knob on there or something like that, and a plate that came off. It just, things move on and regulations change, and we adhere to it.
So there's just another quick question come in from Morris. What happens if you've got to replace the pulley belt? How is that done?
If you have to replace the pulley belt, then you have to take off, basically, you're taking out part of the spindle assembly.
Right.
So yeah.
But does that happen often? Do we need to replace belts very often?
No. As long as the machine, like any machine, you want to look after it and keep it in good order. You've got a cover on there anyway, but the likelihood is you are going to get little bits of chipping in there. The belt that's supplied on this machine is a Poly V belt, and it's a very good belt. So the actual material it's made of it's quite supple, but it's hard wearing. years ago, and we still do them, is you had the old standard V belt in there, and they were prone to slipping because the way they sat into the V's, they got hot and they got dried, the material dried, and they cracked more regular than these. This, as long as it's kept in good condition, and that's by keeping it, making sure it's clean. If you go in there and see there's chippings in there or anything else, I mean, you can't run anywhere without the cover on, so you're not going to get loads of chippings in there, but dust gets in there anyway. But occasionally get in there and take the belt off, give it a hoover around in there, keep it clean in there. But yeah, I mean, the spindle it's not difficult to take out, but it's not going to be something that you're going to need to do on any kind of regular basis. I mean, I've got the same sort of setup on my bandsaw, which I use a lot more than I do the lathe. I've got a Herald lathe, and it's got the same sort of belt on there, a Poly V belt. And the bandsaw I've had for 10 years, and I use quite regular, and I've changed it once in that period, and that was more down to me not using the extraction, because it got picked up all the waste into the Poly V belt. But it is something to do. We can help. Obviously, we supply the bits anyway, but we can take a customer through how the procedure goes to check the spindle out, part way out of there. Is that okay?
Brilliant, brilliant. So I suppose the message is, if it's necessary to change the belt, I know Mike Pieces just said he had a belt on his machine for 15 years and it's still running.
Yeah.
And so I guess the message is, if you need to change the belt, contact the Record Power Tech team and they'll just walk you through it.
Yeah, quite easily. And it's a good quality belt on there, and the way it's designed gives good grip and transfers the speed correctly, but it's also longer life belt, a much longer life belt. Control box. So we spindle lock. Let me do the spindle lock while we're on it as well. Now, I said to you about not using the index position. So if I move it up a little bit more. So spindle lock, and I said, this is not a spindle lock because of the design of it. That's just for indexing. If you want to take a chuck off, something like that, drop that through, and that goes between the bed. Then you can use your spanner or on the faceplate or whatever you've got on your chuck to take that off. You're not going to transfer any damage into here. And that's through the hand wheel that goes onto the back. This thread is a right-handed thread. Your hand wheel is a left-handed thread. So they're opposing each other. That way you can take off your tooling that you've got fitted to your spindle. Okay.
And that question just came through from Nibors G, who was saying, you know, if you've got to take your chuck off, what method do you use? So you don't use the spindle lock. That's what Pete's just demonstrated there.
Yeah, don't use the indexing. That is purely for indexing. Use your Tommy bar between the bedways.
Brilliant, Pete.
You can use the spanners on there. We've got a couple of spanners supplied there to fit onto your faceplate. These two spanners come with it. They're designed for your faceplate and the spindle itself. But you can use something in the chuck. But if you want to use a Tommy bar in the back, it's probably the best way to take your chuck off. Right, I think we've covered most of the movements of the head and everything. So we'll go into the speed reader now. We've done all the position and the repositional control unit. If we've got the machine switched on.
And there was, before you do that, Pete, there was just a quick question from Leonard. Hello, Leonard Shield.
Hey, Leonard.
Yeah, so Leonard was just mentioning about the alignment of the head and the tailstock. Once you've swiveled the headstock,
Yeah.
with the live and drive centers, do you do a quick kiss test just to make sure that they're lined up, or how critical is that?
Yeah, I mean, you can, yes, it certainly can do. If I bring that up. So again, if we release it, can move that up. Can you see over the top okay? That's
so really it's just an operation of lining up those 2 points.
Yeah,
you know,
but you're basically brought into line by the indexing.
Yeah.
And then you can bring it up, yeah, so, and then lock it up as you would normally do. But you're into an indexing position. You've got the keyway, there's a T-bar kind of underneath the head, and that is pre-drilled with 2 balls and springs in there, and you've got drilled locations in the head which are done with a jig to basically bring this back into alignment. And if you can see, it's quite easy to adjust on there. I don't know if you got it. Yeah, we can bring it back into alignment on there.
Yeah, lovely job.
Okay.
Thanks.
Excuse the light's probably a little bit not so good on there, but yeah.
Yeah, we get the general idea. That's good.
Right, let's give her a run up and go through the controls. So your controls for the machine is this unit here. So you can place that wherever you feel comfortable on the machine. So for standard usage, you could be here. If you've got the outrigger fitted and you're doing bowls or whatever, you can move it to the other end of the bed. So wherever you feel comfortable on using it. So that's a nice little feature. The basic controls themselves, you've got your emergency stop, start, and then forward and reverse, and you've got a neutral position, and then you've got the actual speed dial. So to start the machine up, we've got a switch underneath. Switch on. Make sure I'm not engaged in the index. So I'll turn it down. We're in the middle position. If we go onto the forward mode, then we read off our display off here. If you got, whichever way is the best way to see it. And then we adjust the speed up. So basically we've got a single phase input, and through the inverter underneath, we're actually changing this to 3 phase. So you've got a lot more torque on your motor, and it's a longer running sort of machine. With the 3 phase, like I say, you've got a lot of torque, longer use with the machine, just gives a better performance. The main thing is because it's designed to do in large bowls, you've got that capacity of power in there when you're in the whatever mode that you want to work in out of the 3 speed ranges. So stop off there, and then we've got, like I say, the neutral position on there, and then we can go into the reverse mode. And again, that's adjustable. So if you go from a reverse mode, whatever speed you are stays the same. So if I was in forward mode 500 RPM for argument's sake, When I go into the reverse mode, it's 500 RPM again. So I'm just duplicating what's up on the speed dial. I don't know if I'm giving a good, if you're seeing that okay. Yeah, speed's a little bit blurry. It's got a little bit of membrane over the top of it.
Yeah, that's it. We can see that.
Yeah.
Lovely job.
So, yeah. So you've got ultimate control on there.
Very nice.
What I should have said in the reverse mode as well, we showed the camvac, but we're also with the camvac, we've got our posable hose. So if you're in reverse for sanding, you can use the posable hose round the back of the machine. So that's useful, like I say, especially in the sanding mode. When you're doing your chippings and stuff, it doesn't really matter. But if you want to get as much extraction, dust taken away when you're in that sanding mode.
Well, actually, Pete, that's a really good point in terms of reverse for those that are watching that are new to turning. Why is reverse used on a lathe? And the second part of that is with a chuck, what's an important feature to have on your chuck if you use your reverse mode?
On the chuck, because you're going in reverse mode, when you're on the forward mode, you're going into the lock of the spindle because it's a right-hand thread. So when you go onto the reverse mode, you could actually unwind it. So like with our chucks, we've actually got a hole drilled in there. I don't know if you can see that. And that's for a 6mm grub screw to go in there. And we supply a tough null pad in there as well. So as you don't bruise the spindle, it locks up on there. So that's for when you go into the reverse mode, it locks the chuck down. And obviously obviously, it's not obvious to people who haven't used a reverse. Two functions on the reverse mode. First of all, you're taking the dust away from you because the way that the dust is coming off, being in the reverse mode, it's actually going to run to whatever you want to collect that waste in, rather than coming towards you. And it's also safer with whatever cloth or whatever you're using, because it's going that way rather than pulling it back into you. Because what if you do, sometimes people put cloth on there, sanding paper and stuff like that, it can actually catch on there as well. You're less likely to do it in the reverse mode. So
yeah, all right, Pete, and another question for you, so thanks for that. So yeah, so reverse mode, sanding and so on, but if you do use it in reverse mode, make sure you've got a chuck that has a mechanical fixing onto the spindle so it can't come undone, right?
yeah, you're locking down onto that spindle. But at the back of the spindle thread here, I don't know if we can actually see it all, or shall I bring the head round a little bit? You've got like where the thread's finished, there's a little undercut there. Yeah. And that's not going to lock up on your thread. See this undercut here? So we've got flats on there anyway, as I explained, for taking off your chuck and whatever. You've got an undercut here, and there's a slight mark at the moment, but you're probably not going to see it where it's been locked before with the faceplate on there. So what you're doing there, there's enough room in there for the grub screw to lock into there. It's not going to come into contact with the thread and damage that. So that's why I say when you take off the faceplate, make sure the screw is up above the surface. It's still you can take it out if you want to, but so as you don't damage this thread when you take it off with a grub screw, because the grub screw is a hardened unit. It's designed, it's heat treated, so it could damage that. It's not soft.
Yeah, so that's I was going to say, really important point. You've got to remember to undo the grub screw before you undo the chuck, because you strip the thread of your spindle. Another quick question for you from Alan Peretta. Is the reverse fixed, or will the machine default back to forward? So, like on the Herald, you'll put it in reverse, turn it off, and it automatically goes forward. Is that the same on the Envoy and Regent?
No, you've actually got a rotary switch here. So you have to flick it to the reverse or to the forward, and you've got a neutral position in between. So for argument's sake now, if I start that, it's not going to do anything because it's not in one or two of the modes. If I start it up now, it's going in the forward mode, it starts. But in this mode, I was saying, that's an actual neutral mode. So you've actually got to engage it. So if the power goes off, and if it's in the reverse mode, when you switch it back on, it's going to be in the reverse.
All right, that's good. David Jennings, quick question for you. Now, David wants to know, this is really a technical one. Can the inverter parameters be adjusted to change the acceleration and deceleration rate? So can you know how fast it winds up and how slow it slows down? Can you change that in the inverter? I'm thinking, well, I'm thinking probably not.
No, they're basically factory set. Those are preset that we wouldn't change, sort of thing. No.
No, fair enough. And a question from Walter Herring. He says he loves his Coronet. And he's got questions on the bandsaws. But Walter, I tell you what, send us an email in, and we'll do your bandsaw questions in another session. But send an email to Tech Services. We'll definitely help you out with that question. No problem.
Yeah. I'm in there tomorrow, and or any of the guys in there. We can sort you out on the bandsaws. Yeah.
Cool. Or give us a call. We'll just walk you through it.
Yeah.
All right, Pete. So what we got now?
I think we've covered most of the features and everything else. I suppose promotions, Mike. What we got in different markets for the UK and America. Really, we've got promotions set up in different markets, and it's best to go to your local dealer, really, who can update you on those.
Yeah, so in each of the markets, it's really important right now in that the Regent and the Envoy, there are some amazing deals, aren't there, Pete? There's some pretty
some
hot
cracking
deals
going on them. Yeah.
Yeah, in all of those markets. So if you're interested in an Envoy or a Regent, if you contact your local dealer, if you're in Europe or the UK or Australia or in the US and Canada, there's different deals going on for different markets, different price points, but definitely worth contacting your dealer now because there's some pretty interesting stuff going on.
Yeah.
All right.
So hopefully you guys out there, that was informative to you. It's my first real live session as such, so hopefully I wasn't too quick and I was precise enough in the details that I've given you. Excuse me for being a little bit quick on some of the items maybe, but hopefully we've covered everything on there, and you can interact with us as well, either today carrying on or in the future, and get in touch with us, and we can hopefully answer questions you may have about the two products. Again, talk to your dealers, as Mike said. Each marketplace is tailored for the promotions on the machine, and it's stock supporting in those areas. So the guys at the dealerships will help you out greatly with that.
All right, that's it. I think there's a few other questions coming in, and David, with the start and stop speeds for the Envoy, just give us a call into Tech Services, or you can contact me on my email address, which is Mike D at recordpower.co.uk. You send an email in, we'll help you walk through any challenges you've got. But other than that, lots of lovely comments coming in. Ruby saying excellent presentation. Terry, thanks. Well done, Pete from Vinny. So I think you've probably covered it all. There's no more specific questions coming in, Pete, so we can probably wrap it up. But just to say that contact us if you've got any questions, or your local dealer.
Yeah, yeah. The only other thing I think probably is we've just flirted around a little bit on the Canvax because of the various models in there. Yeah, check your dealerships and also check the websites for the configuration that suit you, because we've got models to suit each application, like I say, 30 litres to 200 litres and in between, and you can configure your machine. And I think you'll find that they're an excellent extractor. We make them in-house, and it's a very interesting position we're in with those machines. So hopefully that helps a little bit.
All right, and thanks to our mate Ollie behind the scenes on the camera, our technical genius, for making it all happen.
Cheers. Thank you, everybody.
All right, that's it. See you next time.